Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to have each and every one of you here. Is R Keith Andrews, the man, the myth, and the sideburn legend, is here to talk about all things extraterrestrial. So get your questions ready coming on up. We're thankful that all of you are here as well, including Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver, SJ with a bronze. Hi there, Kitty Caddywhack, Robert Lamoth, Brown Dwarf, Eternity Eternal, thank you all for coming on in. Road Flare, nice to see you. And Matt Carter, thanks for joining us tonight. If you read this, Dave, I just want you to know I found your podcast last week. And thank you and everyone for having such an amazing or incredible community where it's safe to talk about this stuff. Matt Carter, just because of that beautiful comment, Matt Carter will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on, let's say hello to Scott B. Jeff Steve Garvey. He'll hit a home run for you. And the Lone Wanderer. Nice to have you back. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. It's very uncomfortable. Got to be smooth. Smooth. Thank you, Mel, for lubing us up. Tim James, hey, check your Facebook Messenger. I got the link in there for you for later. Lars Jansson is here. Yeah, the pride of Stockholm, Sweden, wearing Pelle Lindberg's old number 31 tonight as he starts in goal. Yeah, we're ready for him. T-Bone, my man, how are you? Lisa Smith, Rich Buddy, nice to see you both here. Sweet Donna C is here. Sweet Donna C will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Hi there, W. David Page. Nice to see you. Marty Burback. Noble Patrick. The Ferret. Millennium, my man. Good to have you all here. All right. Cowie Schneider. Nice to have you here. And Les Paul Holland strumming away on his Gibsons as we speak. Pam Harris. Michael Fontaine. Nice to see you both. Thank you for coming on in. JSCO. Good to have you here as we continue on with our roll call tonight. T-Bone, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. That's a good 20 bones right there. Thank you, T-Bone. Much love, my friend. Much, much love. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Kurt Walter, how are you? Let me just quickly do something here, guys. I just got to check my levels on something. All right. Better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, it's true. Better to be safe than sorry. Moving on. Jerry Lahane, how are you? J Truth Seeker, Contrary 111, how are you? And Major Lee is here. Good to have you here. And Phyllis Boucher Perry, always a pleasure to have you here, my lady. Area 51 has a new picture. Good to see you, Area 51. And who else is here? Well, look at that. We are caught up. We are caught up? What do you think of the new hairstyle? Is that working for you guys? I kind of like it, to be honest. I do. I kind of like it. It's growing on me. Literally, figuratively, punny. Corey, how are you? Deidre, the hippie from Vancouver Island. Nice to see you. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in as R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection will be starting here momentarily. But first, we are in roll call, saying hello to Necessary Dialogue. John Lamb, nice to have you here as well. Blue Cruz, nice to see you early. Once again, the super chat is open. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and be proud to wear it. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Hi there, Human Carl. Thank you for your service. Me Woykin, nice to have you here. We are so close. We are just itching. I say we do this. How about you? Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of awesomeness tonight. The pork chop sideburn wearing R Keith Andrews is here to talk about the ET Connection. And we will take audience questions right through because we love it when Keith is here. He is one of our favorite guests of all time on this show. Coming up 9 years that he has been coming on this show weekly. It's been awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I love the guy. I actually took him out for dinner the other night. And I was in Kelowna, British Columbia for a couple of days. And I called up Keith on my way down, or the couple nights before. I said, hey, Keith, I'm coming down. And don't make yourself dinner. I'm going to take you out for dinner. So we went to the Keg restaurant. I ordered steak and lobster. He had some sort of salmon platter. We pigged out. We even got dessert. And then we hung out for a little bit and talked aliens and stuff all night long. It was wonderful. I love spending time with Keith. In hour number 3, Swamp Dweller is going to be here. He's got another spooky story for us. Right after that, Tim James is here. Yeah, little Timmy James will be by with the UFO report. One of my good friends on this show has been coming on for almost 9 years. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. It happens at the beginning of each month, where we talk about all things extraterrestrial, supernatural, and aliens. Keith is a lifelong ET contactee. He does not follow the UFO world and what's going on because, frankly, he couldn't be bothered. He's more interested in helping people try to break down what they are going through with their own experiences. What do they do when they get abducted? How do they react when they find weird marks on their body? Keith has been helping people for decades regarding this, and every month he comes in to help our audience as well. So remember, if you are in our YouTube chat, our Twitch chat, or on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, or listening in on our X Spaces, do me a favor, put your questions in capital letters. I will get them to Keith here as we go. R Keith Andrews, it's a pleasure to have you back on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
Doing not bad at all. I tell you, the reality of your journey down here the other day proved beyond a shadow of a doubt just how bad my sense of direction on this planet really is. Because when you had to step out of the room for a bit, I went down to the washroom. Well, I hadn't been in a keg in 15 years, at least. So understandably, I had to find out where the washroom was. Problem was, when I came back out of the washroom, I had to try to track down a waiter to help me find out where the table was that I just left.
Well, you found it, because when I got back, you were right sitting in your spot, so that was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome. It was so good to see you, my friend, and thank you for allowing me to take you out for dinner.
Oh, not a problem there. I really appreciated it. I go to one restaurant. That is the first restaurant I've gone to in probably 3 years. That wasn't the one I usually go to. I don't like change.
Oh, I don't like change either. I'm one of those guys, when I go to a restaurant, I find one meal. One meal. It doesn't matter whether it's McDonald's or the Keg or a sit-down restaurant, like anywhere. I have one meal that I get at each restaurant, and I don't stray from that. I'm very loyal to my meal choices.
I do the same thing. It just, for me, it depends on the day of the week, because I only go to the one restaurant.
Keith, let's kick things off here. Let's kick things off here, because I know
Sure.
we're just waiting for some audience questions to come in, and they will come fast and furious once the audience gets warmed up. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the questions that I have from a lot of people is, why doesn't Keith, with all of his experience, get involved in what's happening in today's ufology, with all the politics of it going on, with all of the governmental stuff, the alphabet agencies, the names that are being dropped, whether it's Lou Elizondo or David Grush, and you just don't pay attention to it.
I have no use for it.
Why is that? Why do you not pay attention? Do you have no use for it?
Well, in a nutshell, most of the people that are holding large positions, and this is going to sound really derogatory, so I'll apologize ahead of time, but most of them have an inflated ego, and quite often I find some of them are more interested in selling a book than they are in answering questions. And where it comes to the politics, that's easy. In a nutshell, I don't lie well enough to be a politician. I tried it. Not the lying thing, the issue of being on the board of directors. But no, most of it, a lot of it I find is very rehashed and very ill thought out in a lot of ways. The biggest thing I find is so many of the so-called bigwigs, or the big wheels, still talk about alien invasion, and we've got to worry about them. What nobody seems to get is, if that were to ever happen, even the fight would be over before anybody knew it was started. So I just don't see that. I've never seen the people that are in the spotlight, like even yourself, Dave. I don't see you as any better than anybody else. Okay, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the friendship we've got, but
here I took you out for a big dinner the other night. I expected best friend status off of that, man.
Oh, bad news. Let me ask you this. In your eyes, what's a best friend?
What was that? Repeat that.
I said, in your eyes, what is a best friend?
Oh, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you.
Well, I've been asked that multiple times by various people, and here's the kicker to it. To me, the best friend is a person that is there whenever you require, whenever the need, whenever it happens, and there's only one person on the planet that can pull that off for me, and that's me.
Well, you know what, Keith, always when I get a chance to spend some time with you, I absolutely love it, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to hook on up and and have a good chat for a few hours. That was wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Keith, you know what? We were just talking to you momentarily ago about why you don't get involved in the UFO field. Is it because, and I loved your answer, you don't care. Do you not care because real people are having real experiences and you don't have time to play the political game in helping people?
In a lot of ways, that's very much the issue. Because when people ask me a question, I go, here's the answer. If you like it, this is great. If you don't, you probably shouldn't have asked.
Okay, so with that being said, why do you think so many of us are following the political game towards disclosure when the likelihood of these government people actually giving us disclosure is extremely slim, probably none?
I would love to answer that without it sounding excessively derogatory or demeaning. But in my opinion, people aren't thinking things through when they're following like sheep. The reality is, when you're looking at this full disclosure, you got to look at the ramifications of it. First of all, the people that are experiencing it don't need somebody to say it's happening. None of you do. If you've already had an experience, you don't require anybody to tell you it happened. Okay, what you require is somebody to say, hey, yes, it happened, but you can work through it, and here's how to do it. I mean, realistically, do we actually require somebody with a big name to come out and say, hey, by the way, there are unidentified flying aircraft, flying craft going around?
I want to ask you and follow up with that, because one of the things that I am continuously debating with people, including our great afternoon or our great after hours host, Rob G, is the threat narrative. The threat narrative that these beings are harming people, that these beings are could be violent, they could be demonic, they could be something that is very, very intensely bad for humanity going forward. How do you feel about this?
Well, I think it's a great comedy routine, personally. I mean, let's paint the picture just the way it works out. Let's assume for just a nanosecond that they're going to invade. Okay, here's the scenario. They fire off from about the orbit of Mars. They fire off a broadband subquantum magnetic flux that wipes out every electronic on the planet, including modifying the superstructure of the electronic components that are already built. They start there. Now, you guys have no contact with anybody save word of mouth. Then they pull into about the orbit of the moon and start knocking our own space debris out of orbit and dropping it with pinpoint accuracy onto specific locations on the planet. Okay, now you got to remember, when a satellite drops from orbit, it's going to hit with the destructive power of about a 200 megaton nuclear bomb without the fallout. Once they've knocked the 3,500 some odd pieces of debris out of orbit, then they may decide to land. Now, that's just the conventional way. Okay, if they were planning, there's all kinds of things they can do. If they wanted to collect the humans, all they'd have to do is use a sonic weapon, which, by the way, humans already have, and knock every human on the planet out at the same time. Fight's over. Now, these are only two of their methods. This is why I loved ID4. It was a great show. But comparing human technology to alien technology in a realistic threat is like saying, okay, grab an abacus from ancient Egypt and use that to connect to an IBM, because you're gonna infect the IBM with a virus.
One of the things that I look at regarding this threat narrative, and just looking at even what Lou Elizondo has said in his book Imminent recently, and I know you haven't read the book, but he believes that these creatures have been here for millennia.
That's an
And
understatement.
I look at it and I think, if they are a threat, why haven't they taken this planet over yet? Why haven't they done that?
Well, two major factors. Number one, they were told they can't. Okay, but you are right. They've actually been here since the planet was built. In all fairness, they were near it as it was being built.
Well, you know what? I look at it that if they have the ability to get here, if they have the ability. Now, I'm not saying all aliens are good.
God, no.
Okay, because there are probably some bad ones. But you know what? I compare it to humans. Not all humans are good. The majority of us are good people on this planet. Okay? They are. They're good people on this planet. They wouldn't hurt a fly. They'll shake your hand. They'll want to be your neighbor. They'll hug you when you're sad and they'll hug you when you're happy. I think that's how most people are on this planet, if they have the choice to be.
Absolutely.
However, there are some bad apples. There's some
certainly
very
are.
bad apples out there. Okay. And it doesn't matter whether it's in the United States, Canada, Russia, China, Japan, England, the Middle East. All right. There's some bad apples out there that ruin it for everybody. And I think the alien species are the same way. Not all of them are bad. We can't blame everything on it. It's like I gave an example the other night, Keith, about dogs. In the early 90s and the 2000s, people wanted to ban the breed of dog pit bull because they were attacking people. It's not the dog. It's the way the dog has been trained. It's the way the dog has been trained by its owner.
Very true.
And not all dogs are bad. German Shepherds went through it. Doberman Pinschers went through it. A bunch of guard dogs, Rottweilers, went through it. It's funny. It's never the breed of dog. It's the person behind that puppy that teaches that puppy to be a jerk. So are all dogs bad? No.
And that's very much the case. When I talk about people, I'm literally referring to any entity that is alive. For me, that also includes the plants and animals. Because all they are, they all behave the same way, essentially. As you said, they're all the majority of them are generally nice. But there are those wingnuts.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't buy into the whole threat narrative, Keith. I don't buy into that at all.
I look at it this way. I'm a firm believer that 90 to 95% of people out there across the cosmos are decent individuals, really just trying to make ends meet. Just trying to get by. They're overall nice. You've got about 5 to 10% that are trying to be a problem. And they're succeeding. What doesn't make sense to me is, with that kind of ratio, why 90% of the stuff that is posted, reposted, reported, why so much is negative and fear-based. I mean, let's face it, yes, there's wars going on. There's wars going on off-world. But there are way more weddings, birthdays, celebrations, reunions going on than there ever have been wars. And yet, everybody, the majority of people seem to be pushing all this negativity out there. And by the way, it doesn't just happen with humans. You'd be amazed. Well, you'd be amazed how many different races are actually afraid of humans.
I don't find that surprising at all. I don't think any of us should. I really don't think any of us should be afraid, to think that. It's just, it comes with the reputation. And if we're known as a violent, troublesome species by those ETs that are flying on by or coming to hang out, that's either going to attract two things. It's going to attract bad extraterrestrials that want to join in on the bad fun, or it's going to attract those who just want to see how vicious of a species we actually are, Keith.
Oh, yeah. And there is, of course, the other brand. There is a third type. The hunters and huntresses. They go, there's a dangerous animal. I want to go put one on my shelf. And I know humans do not like being looked at as trophies. But, you think about it. How many times do people, especially when you start looking at the militaries or the militarily minded people, go, oh, there's a UFO. I don't know what that is. Let's shoot at it and see if it's friendly. I'm looking at this going, you pull a gun on me, the odds are I'm not going to be happy about
it. Keith, we got about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. R Keith Andrews and the ET connection going on here. So you don't believe, for the record then, that there is a threat narrative going on from the ETs that many people within the United States government and military believe?
Not on the whole, no. Certainly there are individuals that could be problematic, but the threat narrative that is being propagated is absolutely, well, we won't say that. There are words that we're not supposed to say on air, from what I gather. But I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. But no, the threat narrative, in my opinion, is completely fabricated to keep humans edgy.
So what would you say to people who want to believe that threat narrative?
Enjoy. I'm not here to convince other people, and in a sense you can say, pray I'm right. Because if I'm wrong, the human race is going to end overnight when it happens. And I don't mean civilization. I mean the race will be eradicated. But if people want to buy into the fear, they're more than welcome to. I can't do much about it. All I can do is tell you you're being misled. And then you get to figure out whether or not that makes sense.
Is there a way to justify that? Because the way I look at it is threat narratives create budget.
Well, and that it does. The funny part about it is there a way to eliminate the threat narrative? There's only one way that I know of that you can do, and it will take decades to do. Quit repeating it. And I don't mean quit repeating it by the governments or by the powers that be. I mean by those of you that are watching. When somebody says, oh, we're going to be invaded, turn the channel. Don't give them a minute of your time. Eventually, they'll get bored. Is the best way I can put it.
Well, you know what? I think if they get bored, that's when we're going to be in danger. That's what I'm, going to be doing. Hey, I want to give a shout out here. Good friend of this show, professional wrestler, the Navajo Warrior. Yeah, he is competing at the United States Senior Strongman World Championships in Florida on Sunday. We want to send him all the love to make sure he gets through that with a championship title. I mean, he's not as strong as El Avni Volador, but he's pretty darn close. Spaced Out Radio continues with the ET Connection here on the Mighty SOR. R Keith Andrews and I will rejoin you right after this. All right, Michelle Eilis, there you go, my dear. I love you. I love the Navajo warrior. I'm glad El Avni Volador is not around tonight. He showed up here last week, and actually, he was saying some pretty nasty things about the Navajo warrior. It was horrible. It was horrible what he was saying. So if you check out last Friday's show, the final half hour, El Avni Volador, literally, my buddy Tim and I, we went outside while with the editing, it was downloading and all that kind of stuff. And I guess El Avni Volador got us from behind, hog-tied us, and ran into the studio with his new tag team partner, El Fantasmo. And they took over the show. And apparently, El Avni Volador was not very polite to the Navajo warrior. So I don't know what's happening there, but just to bring that up to you. Hi, gorgeous and amazing Kira. Forrest Louie, how are you? Richard Minnick, good to see you. Troy SR71, what's happening, my man? Good to have you here. And let's see here. I agree with you, Joe. El Avni's a wimp. Total wimp. Can't stand the guy. El Avni fears Nav. That needs to be a spaced out radio shirt. We'll fix something. Yeah. Knucker, how are you? Good to see you. Yep. Oh, it was horrible words, Michelle. Horrible words. Bigfoot Rob, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you, buddy. Horrible words were said. See if I can bring it up here. That might be a little bit too. I'll have to find it. But the words were ugly. They were ugly. El Avni called for a cage match with Navajo warrior. Cosmic Joe, how are you? Melissa Cronenweather, how are you? Good to see you. That's a good question, T-Bone. I'll get to that here momentarily. Don't forget, if you have questions for the legendary R. Keith Andrews, get them in capital letters for me, if you don't mind. I don't know if there's going to be a fan party next year, Michelle. We're going to make that decision in October. Oh, if you could bring a cage, I'd freaking love that. Nope, Rose, no wildfires. No wildfires right now, which is good. All right. Yes, we are hoping. Oh, man. That would be tempting just for the ring. Oh. Red Wings are not making the playoffs this year. Come on. How could you even mention that, Knucker? There is no freaking way the Red Wings make the NHL playoffs this year. No way. Next year, maybe. Not this year. I think the LA Kings have a better chance at making the playoffs over the Red Wings. I want to see that, Joe Monk. You got to step away from your garage before you and step away from your driveway before you even say you're going to get in a cage match with El Avni Volador. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, Sweet Simon, and Bigfoot Rob for the great super chats tonight. Rich, buddy, your Ducks are about 10 years away from the playoffs. Just saying. All right, Keith. Hold on. No, we got like 30 seconds. I think we got 30 seconds.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm here.
20 seconds. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Be like Cosmic Joe. Grab your swag. Mama Catherine, if I ever become a wrestler, you're going to be my manager. Just saying. The Oilers are a great team. Here we go. Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. And we are here talking all the weird woo with you tonight, but aliens and ET contact. Hey, before we bring R Keith Andrews back on, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continues on here on the Mighty SOR. Keith, we always get to some audience questions. Are you warmed up and limber for the audience to get going here?
Oh, yeah. Fire away.
All right. We're going to kick off.
It's so much easier.
We're going to kick off with the Lone Wanderer tonight. Which race of aliens keeps you in lucid sleep and just observes you sleeping?
Wait a minute. I lost that one.
Which race of aliens keeps you in a lucid sleep and just observes you sleeping?
None of them can actually keep me in a lucid sleep. Quite literally, if I'm going to sleep, I'm going to sleep whether they want me to or not.
Well, that's
as
you.
far as watching, that's their choice.
That's for you, but what about for other people?
Oh, my apologies. This is where I get what I get for taking things way too literally. Quite often the Zeta Reticulans will, if they're trying to gauge, if they're doing, if they're recording your biorhythms in order to set you up, in order to set up for hybridization or just simply for analysis. They are the most likely. The other one that may do it would be the Pleiadian. But they only do it if they're holding you there because they're trying to figure out how to heal something that's gone wrong. Those are your two most likely that I'm aware of.
All right, well, let's go on to the next question here. This one from Marty, who you met in Reno at our fan party. Where does the Galactic Federation meet? Is it far from us?
Well, that depends. You can say it depends, and what I mean by that is right now they have their flagship inside the sun's photosphere, inside our sun's photosphere. And yes, the governments of the world have known about this for decades. So they simply go and they simply gather there and then carry on with what they're doing. But in answer to the other part of that question, you're looking at the far side of the sun as far as the moon is concerned.
What about doppelgangers?
You mean, do they exist?
Are they aliens?
Doppelgangers are more often than not, your doppelgangers are actually ancient race. See, aliens on the whole maintain their image, but there is an ancient race, as in a race they are essentially their physical chameleons. And yes, the reports of what they're up to is very true, but they're not trying to conquer the world. They are very individually oriented.
In regards to doppelgangers for a second here, Keith, is it true that if you run into your doppelganger, bad things can happen?
That depends on how fast you're traveling. The reality is your doppelganger isn't your doppelganger until you're dead.
Say that again.
Your doppelganger doesn't become your doppelganger until you're dead.
Weird.
As in, they terminate the original person and replace them in their entirety.
Okay. Let me ask you this question then. Because I've asked a couple other people and I don't think I've been satisfied with the answer. So I'll fire it on you. I have a friend of mine who has a twin. They are nearly identical. And a couple of months ago, her sister decided that she didn't want to live anymore. She wasn't going to off herself or anything like that. She just felt that her soul didn't want to be on the body anymore, and her soul didn't want to be human incarnated anymore. And my friend, who is the sister of the one who wants to leave, she told me that the sister changed. She believes that her sister left her body and another soul came in to take over the body. And she said she's noticed notable changes.
Yeah.
The way her sister acts isn't the same. The way her sister talks is a little off now. And I figured, I mean, these two are so close, as most twins are, that my friend is 100% convinced that her sister is not her sister, but still her sister, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% total sense. But you're going to love the answer because it's not going the route of doppelgangers.
Is it a walk-in?
Yes.
Okay, so explain to our audience what that is.
A walk-in, everybody comes to this plan. Now we hear about, okay, let's think then speak. People talk about a life contract, that they've got a contract and that they've got to adhere to. But what happens, that contract exists. But let's say, for instance, with the sister in particular, let's say her contract was to live until she was whatever age. We'll call it 23 for lack of a better time. She was to live her life until she was 23. After that, she would have covered everything her contract required, and she was able to go. While she's setting that contract up, which, by the way, is done with herself, she runs into somebody else that says, look, I don't require all this young thing. I desire to experience life after 23. I'm quite willing to pick it up at 23, but I desire to experience the latter part of life because I died early. The souls make an agreement that when the sister hits 23, she will stop the car, get out, the other driver gets in and takes over. Still identical in every way, physically speaking, but the driver's personality is now completely different. And now we have a walk-in. Okay. Basically, you're looking at people at souls swapping driving seats.
So where do you think the other soul went? The one that didn't want to be here?
Oh, that's the easy part. And virtually every religion has the same concept of a place called purgatory. Really, it's more like a gullah than anything else. But that soul that didn't want to be here returns to that and sets up another incarnation. Now, whether she doesn't have to pick it up at 23 years of age, she can go back and pick up a brand new birth and start all over again. And it doesn't even have to be human.
Weird. Very, very weird. R Keith Andrews and the
life.
ET connection continues. I heard that. Welcome to my life, Keith says. That's why we love you. Let's go to T-Bone. Do you have an opinion of Dolly Saffron's alien, they do no harm theory?
Well, number one, I have no idea who Dolly Saffron is.
Dolly is, do you know Preston Dennett?
No.
Okay, Preston is a great author in the UFO community, and Dolly is his better half. She's an amazing. In fact, I believe I have them coming on the show here next week. Next week, Preston and Dolly will be here. You should meet. You should take that one in, Keith, because they're amazing.
I will do my best. Just do me a favor and make sure you send me a link and let me know and remind me.
I will.
Just don't make it on a Thursday because I won't make it on a Thursday night.
Okay. All right. But she has a theory that aliens don't really do any harm.
Well, that's a cute thought. However, there's a problem. If an alien abducts somebody, or more to the point, when that abductee has now been categorically harmed, their life will no longer be what it was. Okay. And I know from a first-hand experience that some aliens cause harm just because they want to. Just like some humans do. So, would I categorically go, aliens cause no harm? Absolutely not. But I suppose it depends on what you consider harm.
Well, I think I think it's pretty generalized for the most part. I'm not saying I believe in that, because I do believe people have had ugly experiences. Right?
Yeah, very definitely. You know, the reality of it is, if we take a look at the Zetas, for instance, the massive majority of them do not intentionally cause harm. They do everything they can to minimize the amount of trauma that a human goes through, or any other race for that matter. You know, so from their standpoint, they certainly don't intentionally do harm. But when you start generalizing and go, they don't, we got to realize that harm is dictated by the person being abducted or being interacted with. Okay, let me ask you this. If you saw a 15-foot reptilian standing over you and looking down, is this going to harm you just by standing there?
Depends.
And that is where the problem is. You see, on the mental side, on the neurological side, that kind of intimidating demeanor, if you will, simply towering over you, changes the way people look at the individual, at the race, or at aliens on the whole. And in my eyes, that would qualify as harm, because it forcibly alters, even though it's unintentional, it forcibly alters the recipient's perceptions.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. Let's go to T-Bone for a double shot. With all you know, how do you sleep at night?
Laying down. But on the whole, I'll sleep 2 or 3 hours, be up for 4 or 5, and go back to sleep for 2 or 3. And then I'll be up for most of the day, on the whole.
All right.
You know, I'd love to sleep through the night again, but I don't recall the last time I did.
All right, let's go to another question. You don't get night terrors? You don't get
Not
nightmares?
anymore. When I was married, I suffered from them badly and dang near killed my wife because of them. I woke up one night, or more to the point, I didn't wake up, but I was in the middle of a night terror, and when I come up on one shoulder, on one elbow, if my wife had been a light sleeper, where I hit would have killed her, because I hit right where her solar plexus would have been. As it was, I only clipped her arm because she went sideways, and she was black and blue from the shoulder to the wrist. Another night terror I had a scar, I had a gash from the center of my forehead to my temple, from the side of my nose all the way to the ear, and from the center of my chin all the way to the back of it to almost the jugular. My wife looked at me and she goes, I don't even want to know what you were fighting last night. You know, this is why I say when we're talking my life looking like science fiction, I literally mean that's what it seems like.
All right, let's go over to who's next here. Let's go to Blue Cruise, who's asking, what alien ET race are the white walking MC Hammer Pants? What he's calling is the night crawlers. They're called.
I know who you're talking about, and dang it, wish I'd remembered to open up the book, but I know exactly who they are, and on our next break, I will see if I can open it up without actually dumping the system. But I know exactly who you're referring to. I just don't remember right offhand what the name is.
Have you ever dealt with them?
Yes. By the way, the reason they look that way is because they are not humanoid. In a nutshell, if you really want to know, if you really want to compare them, they look more like an inverted green onion. Just a really big one.
Right.
But they are, they're some of the nicest people that you can run into. You just got to remember they are not going to speak English.
Wow. Where did you run into yours? Because they're very rarely seen.
Oh, that was easy. All you gotta do is go to the flagship. They're all over the place. By the way, I don't think that's common practice for people.
What's the purpose of the MC Hammer Pants?
It's not the MC Hammer Pants. That's their legs. It's not clothing.
Oh. So that's just flapping skin? Much like a turkey?
Well, we'll call it skin. It's actually botanical. It's actually plant material.
Would a little Botox cure that?
I don't think you can put Botox into a vine. At least not and have it do anything.
5 minutes to go here before we go to break at the top of the hour. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continuing on here. All right, Keith, let's go to Kurt, who is asking, Keith, what's your view on the Las Vegas aliens? There's been a lot of talk about it recently.
You remember that problem that I ran into?
Yeah, you never heard about it. You never heard about it. So basically, these guys heard some noise and the dogs barking in the backyard, and they lived near. They either owned or they lived near a place that parked construction vehicles. Okay,
Right.
and all of a sudden they started seeing these grays walking around.
Well, that would be normal behavior. And in all likelihood, they were just doing an outing looking for, they could have been looking for anything in all fairness. Because you got to remember, the Zetas are true scientists. And say, a good, at least 75% of them, 75, 80%, are just scientists. All they do is they collect data, they analyze data, they work on various programs. Then you've got about 5 to 10% of them that are true healers. They will go out of their way to try and help other races that are in trouble. And then you got the wonderful 10% that will take any data they can get and sell it to the highest bidder. Like I said, aliens and humans are very similar in demeanor and in motivation, for that matter.
Very true. Very true. I could see that. All right, Keith, let's go to another question here. Let's go to, let's make a selection here. Let's go to Matt, who just found our show last week on YouTube, and he's been hanging out ever since. He'll be signing autographs after the show, so line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Are there any races of aliens that are dark blue?
There's a few of them. Can I tell you right off the hand? I try English. I do know of one of an alien race. Cannot tell you the name off the top of my head, but I do have it documented in book 2. And there are, the Pleiadians. You will run into a few that are dark blue. On the whole, they're more translucent than anything else. But I'm just trying to think of the thing that stand out really strongly. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I've seen various different colors, including ones that are brilliant orange. Humans have this idea, on the whole, that you're supposed to be flesh toned to be normal. Aliens aren't normal. At least not by human standpoint.
So how many dark blue species are there that you've seen?
That I've seen at least 4. And when I'm talking dark blue, I'm talking between navy and blue-black.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on. Because we've got about a minute. Let's try and squeeze one more in.
Absolutely.
Oh, Knucker asking a silly question here. Do aliens eat breakfast for dinner?
Well, that's kind of impossible. Understand, if you take a look at the word breakfast, it is break fast, meaning the first meal of the day. There is no quantifier to say what it is. And I know, Dave, you've got your view, and a lot of people have the same view. Yeah. But no, they eat whatever their diet requires at the time.
It's ridiculous. The fact that anybody would eat breakfast foods for dinner is just wrong. It's wrong.
Well, here's bad news for you. I rank right up there with being wrong.
Well,
but I've been wrong about a lot of things.
Believe you me, Keith, there's a lot wrong with that. A lot wrong with that. But we're going to leave that for right now, because when we return on Spaced Out Radio and the ET Connection with R Keith Andrews, we are going to get to more audience questions. Aliens, UFOs, ET contact. It's all on board for tonight, even for those that decide that they do want to eat breakfast foods for dinner. What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with you aliens? Stop that. They're breakfast foods for a reason, people. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Keith, we're clear. I'm going to put you.
I have the answer for you for when we get back.
Hey, all right. I'm just going to put you in the green room. I'll be right back. Hi, Killing Reality. How are you? Richard Wilson. Nice to have you here. And we'll be right back, guys. Kira, you need to get your mind out of the gutter. They're holding hands. They are holding hands. Anybody else jump in? Oh, Kira's got a dirty mind. Dirty, dirty mind, that Kira. All right. Keep your questions coming. Put them in capital letters. Thank you to Simon ×2 for those 2 huge, amazing super chats. Thank you to T-Bone and Bigfoot Rob for the super chats as well. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Desi Peltis, there it is. Sorry, I got to read it properly. Desi Peltis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection as we continue on here on Spaced Out Radio, taking a bunch of audience questions as well. Keith, how you doing, my friend?
I'm not having a problem. Well, you get the idea.
You're having a good time. Just admit it.
I do, in all fairness, I do enjoy these. The reality is it's the people that are asking the questions that really make this enjoyable from my standpoint.
Well, we appreciate you coming on in once a month here to teach us all about ETs and everything that they do. And considering we're going to take more audience questions, let's go to Henry here. Do past, present, and future truly exist simultaneously?
Yes. How's that for a subtle answer? Ultimately, it boils down to this. The past, it does exist. It is written in concrete, as it were. Okay? So you cannot go back to the past. You can look back at the past. Okay? And you can learn by watching it essentially as a video. You can learn from what's happened. Hopefully you choose to. The future is something that is not written, so it's really sketchy. When people are looking to try and track the future, they look at current events and the current actions and go, if this continues on this path, here's the outcome. But you're literally playing the odds. The only time you can actually do anything is in the present. That's the only time you can make anything happen. Everything else, it's extremely etheric.
Does that mean that there are past, present, and future us's living on the same time existing?
We'll use the term existing a little loosely. Okay, the past, you cannot change the past. So, yeah, by that definition, they exist. But they stay, it's kind of like watching an old movie. Okay, like we go back to 1986, I think, with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Okay, that movie still exists. But the time that it was taking place in is simply a record. It's not a flowing timeline.
So weird. So does that mean then that there are ghosts? If
Ghosts
everything
are absolutely real.
once.
Ghosts are a whole different ballgame and have nothing to do with time. You got to understand, the corporeal body is operated by a soul, or a ghost, if you will. When the corporeal body dies, the ghost and the soul doesn't. Okay, just like when you're driving your truck is the vehicle. Okay, when you stop the truck for whatever reason and get out of it, you, as a pedestrian, can walk in places the truck can't go, hopefully. Okay, now when the corporeal body dies, when the human form passes, the soul steps out of that and can now go on and do other things that the human body can't do. But essentially, the soul is, for lack of a better term, is immortal.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to another question here, Keith. And let's go to Rose, who is asking, Keith, when was the last time you were taken?
Given the track record, and I would be inclined to say, and I really don't, I sort of have to piece it together after the fact in this case. But what are we? We're on Friday. So it would have to have been on Tuesday night. Like we're talking 4 days ago here-ish.
What happened?
Well, they, from what I recall, when I went up there, they were having a heck of a problem between two different reptilian factions, the Swazians and the Tormenon. Both are descended from the Sarkar. Okay, but it's like two brothers that don't get along, but with a whole lot more people. And I got brought up to just simply help remind them just exactly what they were fighting over, which realistically was a difference in evolution. But the Tormenon are still very unhappy that the Swazians managed to capitalize on militaristic approach. And the Tormenons are still, for lack of a better way of putting it, they are still running around kind of like hot-headed cowboys. You know, they do not have the discipline that the Swazians got. Yet both races started off with the discipline. And quite often it's just little squabbles like that because of the fact I don't see them as any different than anybody else. This is why I get brought in. And yeah, I know that sounds absolutely bizarre. Somebody out there is likely looking and going, oh, Keith has a godplex. No, it's just I don't have the preconception that either party is wrong. They're just not seeing, they're not understanding the other's language. All in all, we managed to get it balanced out. But we're not talking about a race war building up. We're talking about a growing problem that we just had to put the kibosh to.
I see. All right, let's continue on here, Keith. And let's go to, who's our next one here? Let's go to Lone Wanderer. What's on the dark side of the moon, Keith?
What you would call a way station. It is loaded with various different races. And basically they use it as a stopping point where they check in at it before descending on Earth. Or before heading to the jump point just outside Pluto. But anybody coming through this sector has to check in and let the consortium know this is where they are, this is what they're up to. Call it a customs check, if you will. Because they have to check in there before they touch down and before they leave the system.
Okay. All right. I can see you on that. I've heard recently that something that actually confirms that. It's a little.
I really appreciate that part.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's a scientist out there, Dr. John Brandenburg, who's recently been talking about the other side of the moon. And in fact, back on September 5th, just to quote what you say. Now, I want people to know Keith doesn't go on X. He doesn't go on very much social media. But Dr. John Brandenburg, back on September 5th, tweeted out, "Dear friends, UFO alien bases on the far side of the moon have been discussed since 1957 movie Mysterians, which I saw at 12 years old on TV. The movie also has women being abducted into saucers and hybridization experiments, plus human traders." He's a big, big theorist that there are aliens on the other side of the moon, my friend.
Well, I do appreciate the corroboration. But no, I have not looked into any of that. This is why I rely on people like you.
So just so you know, his background, Dr. John Brandenburg, he's a plasma physicist, fusion energy, advanced space propulsion, and an author.
Nice.
Yes. I thought you would like that.
Well, I find this span of the advanced space propulsion interesting because of what I found out with the OTE drive. Essentially, right. You'd call it an infinity drive. When I laid that out for somebody one day, it took me 2 hours to lay it out to somebody with a master's in rocketry and astrophysics. I've got neither. I mean, heck, I got thrown out of basic chemistry and basic biology.
Well, my opinion is this. For anybody following the UFO story, if you have an account on X, follow Dr. John Brandenburg at PhD Brandenburg. B-U-R-G is the end. Dr. John Brandenburg. He's somebody that you should follow. Seriously follow. All right, let's move on here, my friend. We got lots more questions. Kurt wants to know, Keith, is there truth that humans are rebuilding these ET-built beings and making them almost robots inside their flesh? There's circuits and chips and such like a drone with flesh outer shells.
The humans are building them?
Yes.
It wouldn't be a shock to find them working on it. But if what he seems to be insinuating is that they are creating an entire race and utilizing that. As far as I'm aware, what you're looking at is advanced robotics. And you need to have a forum to test different theories. So it wouldn't be a shock to see them patterning ETs. But are they using them for replacement or as a distraction for some sort of interactive setup? Not as far as I'm aware. But let's face it, it's not like I have Class 6 clearance.
Let's move on. We're going next to T-Bone. Are some aliens using our sun and or water as propulsion elements?
Well, given the term some, undoubtedly. Okay. Certainly on Earth, when you get the alien craft that are going submersible, they absolutely will use the water, very much like a squid does. Pull it in and fire it out at the other end. not depleting the water, but simply utilizing it as a way of maneuvering. And the sun, that's been going on utilizing the sun for a fuel spot has been going on since before Earth even was put into orbit. Because what you're looking at is you're literally looking at living plasma. And that's been used for fuel for, like I said, that's been used for fuel for nearly time immemorial.
Okay, let's go to Paul. Are there regularly scheduled diplomatic contacts between aliens and U.S. or Canadian government officials?
Whether they're regularly scheduled, I have no idea. But we'll expand that a little. As far as I'm aware, every major government, every advanced government has contact. Okay. You hear about back in World War II, where people insinuated, and they were right, by the way, that Hitler had contact with another race. What they don't tell you is so did Canada, the United States, China, England. You get the picture?
I get the picture.
But understand, we are not talking about turning over advanced weaponry. Okay, picture what would happen if humans were actually granted, with their aggressive nature and their predilection for picking one group of people and saying, oh, you look a little different, you should die. Picture what would happen if you took a weapon that can literally liquefy human flesh, or one that literally will coagulate every drop of blood in a human body, and turn that over to humans with their current nature. And yeah, we are talking about some pretty horrendous weaponry.
Knocker wants to know, what's up with the probing? You know what's funny? We don't hear a lot of alien probing stories anymore. Have they stopped with the butthole? Are they done with that?
Humans do it to animals and do it to animals and in a way plants as well. And have continued to do so and will continue to do so because it's the least invasive way of getting internal fluids. You got to remember, these guys are scientists. They are analyzing subquantum impact points. And they are looking at the stress levels caused by human migratory interactions. Humans are, on the whole, still nomadic.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Blue Cruise. What alien or ET race are the pale, sometimes solid brown, black, or red in skin color, emaciated bipedal humanoids that make a clicking or chirping sound?
I will have to look into my records on that one. But you are correct. They are definitively insectivoric in nature. Yeah, that kind of noise. You did that very well.
Carl and his buddies did that, remember?
I do so. But they did it from the base of their throat, not from the tongue. The funny thing is, with these red ones that he's referring to, that clicking isn't actually done by their mouth. It's actually done by their joints and by their ribs. Yeah, that sounds extremely uncomfortable, but
let's go to the next one. Lone Wanderer is asking, and we got about 4 minutes, Keith, before we got to go to break.
Yeah.
How can we attract an ET experience? Keith mentioned there are keys to it.
There are, but it really depends on what you're trying to do. If we are talking about a positive one, if you will, the first thing you got to realize is they're watching in the first place. And if your focus is on treating other humans, animals, and plants in an equal fashion, okay, and I'm talking about the ones on Earth. If you are treating all the people on Earth that way, you're likely to get a much better response. Okay, now I get a kick out of it. The one thing I will write off, taking a laser pointer to try and get an ET's attention. I find it an interesting endeavor, but what they're doing, what the ETs are looking at, is brainwaves, not these tiny little lasers. I would recommend, if you're trying to draw some sort of an encounter, be specific in your thoughts. I've talked to people that have said, "Hey, I just want to have an experience. I don't care what it is." This is suicide. Okay, because it's likely to get you eaten.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly.
That is the mantra of what R Keith Andrews is saying tonight. All right, let's continue on here, Keith. Let's go over to Cosmic Joe. Recently just purchased a SOR t-shirt from our website, so thank you, Joe. He is asking, do demons exist?
Yeah.
How do I stop them from possessing me?
Well, that's the easy part. Number one, demons, as in DEMONS, is a religious construct. Demons, on the other hand, are very real. And it's kind of like how, asking that. It's not like you get a contract. Okay. But on the whole, they're not interested in having a simian-based pet. Okay. So the easiest way to solve that problem is when they tell you to do something, don't. By the way, be aware they're not necessarily going to be happy about that.
Oh, I bet not. I bet not. Why be
just a quick note, Dave. The race that we were talking about with the MC Hammer Pants.
Yes.
You're looking at the Tolek.
The Tolex.
Tolex. They are roughly 8 feet tall, sometimes a little taller.
Okay.
But what you see, what you think is their body, that hand that is sitting at the top, isn't. It's actually their head.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, because I was wondering how they see, because it looks like it's a giant pair of MC Hammer pants that just are pulled up way too high.
Yeah. I saw the video the other day. Somebody sent me one of those. And I don't know who it was that sent it. Right. But I know the ones you're referring to. And that was why when I looked at them, I'm going like, I know those people.
I don't blame you. Keith, hold on right there. We're going to take a break at the bottom of the hour. We got R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Keith.
Yeah. I take it we are clear.
We are clear.
Yeah, just for your edification, the Tolek, if you look at them, if you get a close-up look at them, their head, their legs actually attached to the top of their head. Okay, and then slope down over top. Easiest way to look at it is take a green onion and pull all the leaves down, and now you have it. Okay, the head being the white part of the green onion, the mouth being at the base where the roots essentially are, but the roots themselves are also their eyelids, their eye stalks. Needless to say, all aliens do not look like, they are not bipedal. The bipedal form is actually very ineffective.
Let's see where we are here. Let's go, Pens. They're not going to make the playoffs. I got nobody surrounding aging Crosby and aging Malkin. I'm just looking for more questions here, Keith.
Yeah,
we got a, let me see how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, we got plenty of questions for the next half hour.
Yeah.
20 questions. I am Pam. Keith, are you Pam?
I wasn't last to check.
Keith is not Pam. I am Pam.
I've been called a lot of things, and that would be one of the better ones.
I hear you, buddy.
Can't believe it's already 25 to 11.
Right?
Ow.
All right, Keith, we got about 90 seconds or so.
Not a problem.
90 seconds or so.
Oh, forgot I had these people in here.
Valerie Peters, welcome to the show. Vigilant Reality, you were on a roll tonight. On a roll. Full of ET boogers. That's right. Thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Simon ×2, and Bigfoot Rob for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. I am Pam. And Fapster, how are you? Welcome. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, people. We do not have ugly swag. No ugly swag. None. None whatsoever. It's not ugly. Promise you. So go shopping there today. It's open 24 hours a day. We're like a 7-Eleven, except with better hours. Figure that riddle out. Here we go. Thank you for joining us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. And guess what? We are going to continue with the alien talk here on the mighty SOR. So we're glad to have you with us. R Keith Andrews, we'll bring him back here momentarily. We only have until the top of the hour. But first, I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continues right now as we continue to take questions from the audience. And we're going to start off this round with Kurt here, who is asking, Keith, did you ever witness anything underwater or inside volcanoes or an underground military base? Oh, one sec, Keith. There you go. There you go.
Okay. The answer to that would be yes, yes, and yes. Now, let's be clear. Underwater, that wasn't too bad of a run. Okay. That is where what you would consider, that is the seaborne version of the elephant. Okay. They are down at, and you'll have fun with this one, they're down at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, below the silt level. Way below the silt level. In the way of in a volcano, that takes a little bit more protective governing on their part. Because let's face it, I am not fireproof, especially not to that degree. As far as in military bases, well, let's put it this way. I spent 4 years in a my lab. In and out of it. So let's just say, well, during that little endeavor, I watched 197 of my friends get murdered in front of my eyes, just to get my senses to work a little stronger. That resulted in a bad outcome. Never mind for the 197 friends. And bear in mind, when you're in my lab, friends really means you're not one of the staff.
Let's go over to J Truth Seeker. Is it true that aliens will take everyone off the Earth in an event of a solar flare or similar cataclysm? And if so, then where will the people be taken to?
Number one, in the event of a cataclysmic solar flare, keep in mind that's a great way to think. It may take up the last nanosecond of your life and give you something to smile about. You're not getting, no humans on the whole are getting mass evacuated. Okay, not from any plans I've talked to people about. The human race and every other race would be wiped off the map without even blinking. Even if the flare were so bad as to burn out Earth itself, who you call Earth, Gaia, Mother Nature, I call Esau. Even if a solar flare were to wipe her out, they wouldn't step in because it's part of the natural evolutionary cycle.
All right, Keith, let's move on to another question.
Yeah, I know that was depressing.
Let's go to Blue Cruise. Are timelines sentient? Also, are there life forms that consume timelines?
Number one, are timelines sentient? No. timelines are referring to individual tracks that people are following. They're not a massive thing. You're talking about threads that individual souls are laying down to plot their own course. Are there races that actually eat the tail end? Yes. And hunt souls. There are soul stealers or soul eaters, if you will. Not nice people, by the way.
All right, let's continue on. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Kira would like to know, what is the name of the race of ETs that looks like Ewoks in Star Wars? Are they friendly?
Well, Frank, in all fairness, I know who you're talking about. And I don't know the name right off the top of my head. But are they friendly? I don't know. They're cannibalistic. They are cannibalistic and quite readily will eat whoever they get a hold of. So I'm not sure that qualifies as friendly.
You don't think so?
They're carnivorous.
That'll do it, I guess. Let's go to Twitter or X, where Phineas is asking, what smells here on Earth would you compare various alien species? Worst and most pleasant?
That is an excellent question. You're asking somebody with a very limited sense of smell. That being said, I'm guessing they're not an alien species, they are an elemental. But I'm not overly fond of the smell of the. No, it's not the Waylock. Oh, the Hulk. The Hulk have an interesting scent to them, but they're a fire elemental. But the magma, and I don't recall their name offhand. Oh, wait a minute, I do so. I just have to look it up right here. But they have a smell that is extremely sulfuric. Not a pleasant smell at all. I'm just looking for the actual race itself. There we are. They are the Kaizal. And they are liquid stone. They are magma. And therefore, as you can well imagine, these are the people that live inside the volcanoes. Okay. Now, when you start looking at the Feyre, quite often will give off a really nice scent because they tend to smell a lot like various different flowers. This is why they hide amongst the flowers, it's easier.
All right, let's move on, Keith, because we've got lots of questions here.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Celia. Do we all have multidimensional lives or parallel lives? Do they exist so we can meet another aspect of self physically? Or is it more different realities or nothing like that at all?
We'll go with the third. Okay. Everything that exists, from my experience, everything you can detect in any fashion in this world, okay, is third dimensional. Okay, yes, there are many aspects, and our biggest goal as individuals is literally to remember who and what you are. Therefore, when we start looking into the issue of soulmates, these are other component parts of you that you're drawn to find. And as you pull together, as you reassemble, you will remember more of your higher senses and your higher abilities. Okay, but it's not everything is third dimensional. I know of 12 different dimensions, but they are not crossable. As far as different realities, sorry, you're stuck with the one you got.
All right, let's move on, Keith. Let's go to Simon in Australia. Keith, do you have any new novels in the works?
I am just about finished the third installment. I got really badly hung up last year. But Return to Paradise, I'm just closing in on the final writing of it. I think I've got 2 chapters left. And then I do have a new series that lets you go either to follow the main character in the Ildebakian Chronicles, or go back and find out where he came from. So yeah, that is one of the several books I'm in the middle of writing. One day I should get focused. But I think I'll do that till then. I'll do that tomorrow. But in the way of novels, that's the ones that I'm working on.
Let's go to Paramarv. I've heard someone claim that there are multiples of each of us across different timelines, etc. He further said that we could switch places with ourselves. Is this possible? Is it moral?
Moral, I'll leave to somebody else. Possible, the word possible says, yeah. In my experience, it's a cute thought. And it's great for science fiction. But it's got little to do with reality from what I've seen. Now, this does not mean I'm perfect. Okay, maybe I got it all wrong, but everything I've seen says no. Okay, there are multiple outcomes to anything you do. And if you look at that as multiple timelines, then yeah, your decisions can create possible outcomes. But once you make a decision, all the other possibilities go away. It's not something that stays there. Now, I will tell you, on Earth, almost everybody has a replica. Okay, almost everybody has a twin that is not born of the same people. Okay, unlike normal twins, one set of parents gives birth to a set of twins. There are people that look absolutely and act absolutely identical. Okay, but we're not born to the same parents. And yes, I have borne witness to that personally. Where the only difference between the two people, they were born the same day, had the same appearance to the point of photographic comparative. And the only difference was literally they were born in a city, in cities 14 miles apart.
Keith, let's move on.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Kurt. Is Mars a way station? Also, more or less, just a checkpoint?
No. Mars is fully occupied. And the idea of colonizing it, they'll take as invading. Okay. the civilization of Mars, that'll come out easier, is underground. Okay. And yes, they've got the technology to buffer what the Mars rover shows. So, no, the Mars rover is not likely to find their civilization. I find it fascinating with the rover, though. They made a big deal of it. That was right just after the turn of that was just in the early part of 2000, wasn't it, Dave?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said that was just right in the early 2000s when they made such a big deal of landing the Mars rover.
Yes.
Now, to me, that would have been great news if they'd have actually told you about it in the 70s when they did it in the first place.
True. Very true. Keith, let's move on to another question here. Michael wants to know, can you speak any alien languages and say something on the air?
I've done that before. The answer is yes. But I don't know if I can right now because of the way my throat's seizing. I'd love to, but the problem is it's done at the base of the throat. Okay, the grays. Now, I don't know if I'm the ability to even pick up. It's not going to travel. You remember when I did that on the phone there, Dave?
Yes, I've heard
That's
it.
what we're talking about, but it boils down to closing the throat off at the bottom end of it, not using the tongue.
All right, Keith, let's move on to another question. Sierra would like to know, what are Morgellon fibers and what's the cause of them?
I honestly don't know the term. I'm presuming that is coming out of the Middle Ages when they were first looking at navigation. But I don't honestly know the term itself at all.
Morgellons disease.
Okay.
It's like almost like fiber optic fibers that are coming out of the skin. It's weird.
That, by the feel of it, what you seem to be talking about, if I'm picturing this correctly, is they're being generated by the triple helix, and they are a sensory organ that, quite frankly, is really hard for most people. Most people won't handle the sensory overload. Okay, would be my suspicion. I haven't looked into Morgellons disease itself, so I don't have a lot to compare it with. But I have seen that kind of evolution before.
All right, let's move on, Keith. Let's go to Kurt here. Any information of aliens or ETs before the 1950s?
Whole piles of it. You see, you got to remember, aliens have been here since before man even started at its earliest ages. Okay, so the off-worlders were here when World War I was underway. They were here over World War II and all of the other world wars. Go back to if we take a look at it, and I will jump to religion for a moment, but way back in ancient times, they talk about Ezekiel saw the wheels a rolling. Ezekiel was watching a UFO. Okay, they just didn't know how to explain it. So, they've been around forever and a day.
Let's continue on, Keith. We got lots of questions here, my man. We only got about 5.5 minutes. Let's go to Vanessa. Who has seen Alien Romulus? How accurate are alien films?
There are a few. Now, I haven't seen Romulus itself. I can tell you that some of the films are right. Okay, for instance, the movie Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, that is based on the Cheechak. Okay, Predator was based on the Moldog. Okay, when you take a look at what was it? Visitor. Those are the Udina. Okay, and then when you take a look at, just trying to remember here. Well, of course, the Kaizal, literally, when you take a look at, not the Kaizal, my apologies, I believe the Kaizan. Yes, Kaizan and the Kazon are literally, if you watch Terminator 3, the chap with liquid metal, there you have Kazon. These are people that were based on actual ETs. Okay, even the little, you remember Dobby out of heck, very big one, and now I don't even recall the name of it. massively massively enjoyable series that came out. The Wizard School.
Harry Potter?
There we go. Dobby from Harry Potter. That is a Burundi. Okay. So and here's the one you guys will love. When you take a look at Star Trek, you remember the Tribbles. Okay. The Tribbles are literally the Econ. Okay. But what you don't know about the Econ is they are a massive food source on their planet, which is why they produce so fast.
All right. Keith, let's go to Tracy here. Who are the aliens that are in the Galactic Federation that Paul Hellyer talked about?
Well, I'm running into a problem there. I don't know who Paul Hellyer talked about.
He's a former Minister of Defense. He's deceased, who claimed that there were ETs within the Galactic Federation talking to people here on Earth.
There are. He's probably referring to Thrazazians, which are a reptilian race that are allies of humans. They are 7.5 to 8.5 foot, 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptiles. Okay, built for war. They come from a high gravity planet. Okay, but they came in to help protect humans from the Teklek. Now, the Teklek are a reptilian race that was originally intent on literally stripping Earth clean. Okay, so you've got a war going on there, and because of what happened, the Teklek have a civil war going on. But I'm suspecting that they are referring to primarily the Thrazazians. I'm hoping they're not dealing with Tormodon, because those guys you just don't trust.
Okay. Stay away from the Tormodons, people.
Well,
stay away from the Tormodons.
They will do whatever they're paid for.
They will do anything for love, but they won't do that, Keith. Let's go to one final question. We got 90 seconds here. One final question from Vigilant Reality. R. Keith, what can we expect with the pole shift currently underway, and will it affect the navigation or behavior of any ET entities currently observing us?
It won't have any bearing on them at all to speak of. They are literally already technologically geared to handle it. But my understanding is you may well find all kinds of modified behavior of people that you know. Anybody sensitive to magnetic fields is likely to be affected. Now, I'm no doctor, but my suspicion is that you're looking at probably major cases of vertigo and or nausea would be the big ones.
Keith, 30 seconds are left. Where can people find you?
You can track me down at R Keith Andrews, on YouTube, or Inner Voice Enterprises at yahoo.ca. Of course, you can find me on Facebook, on the YouTube channel. If you look underneath any of the videos, you will find a whole list of ways to get a hold of me. And of course, if you go to buymeacoffee.com/Inner Voice J, you'll find every book that I've got written.
Love it. R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. See you next month. Coming up next, Swampy is back. So is Tim James with the UFO Report.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Keith, thank you very much, buddy.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure.
Lots of fun.
You have a good night there, Dave.
You too, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, bye. R. Keith Andrews, everybody. I'm trying to stay as motionless as possible right now. Except right now, because I'll be right back. All right, let's get ready to do this. R2D2, how you doing? Oh, it's little Timmy James. He's not in studio tonight. He's taking care of his ailing wife. Ailing. Using the word ailing. You know, I've had this chair for 6 years now, and it's still comfy. Still comfy. I got to it, Kira. You're going to have to go to the replay. All right. Timmy, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, your beard looks great, buddy. Thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Simon ×2, and Bigfoot Rob for the super chats. Yes, I did move the alien hand. I didn't move the Birkenstocks, though. Here we go. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now running. We're going to continue the UFO talk momentarily with Tim James. Swamp Dwellers up first. But I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Desipeltis. Desipeltis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time of the night we say hello to the Swamp Dweller. And this is the Swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. My family traveled a lot, only because we were a military family. If we had the choice, we would stay in one place forever. Now, because we traveled a lot, we had a fair share of stories. Us getting robbed, natural disasters, car crashes, but none like this one. And what makes it suspicious is that it happened to only me. It was January 14th in New York. I turned 9 in 5 weeks. So if anyone else had a birthday as a kid, you would know that I was hyped. It was already bad enough that I had anxiety and insomnia, so I would stay up nearly every night. And this night was no different. After a good dinner of spaghetti, I went straight to bed. My little brothers were already asleep and my parents were relaxing in the room watching TV. I tried to get some sleep by putting my head under the pillow. Every now and then I would peek at the clock. 9:01, 10:13, 11:20. I got up to check if my parents were still up. Sure enough, they were asleep. TV still on. I went back to my room to try to sleep more. It got cold fast. I looked outside and it was snowing lightly. I looked at my clock and it was 11:27. I got slightly annoyed at how I was unable to sleep. I flopped back on my bed and turned into a blanket burrito. I managed to fall asleep eventually. Then, I woke up terrified. I looked at the clock. It was off. I slowly walked to my clock to see if it was unplugged. It was still plugged in. I started to cry a bit. I then heard a noise outside. It sounded like a mix of a goat and a coyote. I looked outside. It was heavily snowing at this point. I couldn't see anything clearly, not even the houses on the other side. I then heard something fall and break downstairs. I started to have a panic attack. This happens rarely. I then instinctively took out my pocket knife my dad gave me when I was still in Cub Scouts. I quickly opened it and walked out the door. Something sounded like it was sprinting at my door with light footsteps, then slammed my door shut. It opened inwards. I ran back to my bed and held up my dog stuffed animal I named 10. I decided to man up, or little boy up, and ran to the door. I opened it and held my knife to the side. Nothing was there. I ran downstairs. Again, nothing was there. I went to the kitchen. Apparently, a bunch of my mom's spice shakers broke. I forgot what specific ones, but they were expensive. Fortunately, both of my parents are heavy sleepers. I looked at the microwave. No time. It appears that all the power was off. Probably from the snowstorm if I had to guess. My little brain decided to walk outside, for whatever reason. I put on shoes, a coat, and went to the back door. Nothing. Nothing at all was out there. I heard another noise, though. It was the same noise. It sounded like it came from the woods. I then went to the fence and peeked through a little crack in between the planks. I saw a dead deer laying down. I will not go into details, but it looked like a pile of ketchup mixed with squished up tomatoes. The smell was bad. It seemed fresh. I walked back to the porch very and reasonably disturbed. I sat down on a snow-covered chair. I was slightly shivering. I heard heavy footsteps coming from the woods, but as they got closer, they sounded a bit weird, to say the least. I walked back into my house slowly as to not alert whatever it was. Then I went upstairs. I locked the door, both locks, and then heard a gravelly deep moan coming from upstairs right as I was about to walk up them. I walked up the stairs and stood in front of the closet. It stopped as soon as I took the last step. At this point, I had enough and jerked the door open. Again, there was nothing there. Then I heard scurrying in the living room. I jumped down the stairs. This was a bad decision. I tripped and landed on my face flat. I woke up dazed but not in any pain. Yet, I looked at the living room and saw a large, tall, bulky figure. It seemed to be gray, but I did not know for sure. It had large, empty eye holes, and its mouth looked like melted cheese. I stayed on the floor. The thing did not move. It just stared at me blankly. Then its jaw gaped open slowly, about the size of our TV. It then ran off into the kitchen, and I heard the back door close. I was laying on the floor for a good while. I then got up and cleaned my nose, surprisingly not broken, but very bruised. I slowly crawled up my bed and slept there peacefully. My parents woke up to find the spices broken, blood on the floor, and a dead deer outside. I told them what happened, but no dice. I remember it clearly to this day, and they still do not believe me. Luckily, we moved to Texas, and there's no more snow for me.
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for another great story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller Reads. He's got thousands of stories there for you for free. Make sure you hit subscribe. Let's get to the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, Tim James is here for the UFO report. And Tim, I'm not liking this that you're not in studio tonight.
I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry, but yeah, she is in bed, and yeah, I've run up and down the stairs about 400 times checking on her, but hopefully Monday I'll be back.
Oh, that would be great. I like it when you're in studio. It's
Yeah,
a lot
it's
more
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
No offense.
I like the hair, man.
Thank you. I combed it myself.
Yeah, and looking pretty spiffy.
So
Mhm,
we're going
mhm.
to start off with something here.
Okay.
During the show, I've been getting text messages from our good friend, Little Marky Spender.
Uh-huh.
and he is out in the Kootenai area
Right.
hunting for elk. So he sends me this text message from his satellite phone,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, "Woo, from the Kootenays. Have I got a story for you?
No.
Had something really weird happen yesterday morning. Never ever heard a noise like that."
Really?
So I say, "What happened?" He says, "Have to wait until I get back so I could tell you the whole story. But something was imitating my calls, and it sounded human, but no humans were around. Really weird."
Hmm.
"How far away?" I said. "Did you get a recording?" I asked. "No recording, only maybe 50 yards away in the timber."
Huh.
"Calling out sounds or words?" I asked. "Imitating my elk calls, but very badly, and sounded like a human was using their voice."
Hmm. Huh. Well, we're going to have to sit down with Mark when he gets back. That's for sure.
Oh, we are going to have to sit down and relax.
Uh-huh.
And I think he was being stalked. How many
Yeah.
times? I don't know if you've heard a lot of these stories, but I got to tell you that I have heard stories like this over the years where
Mhm.
hunters were being tracked and followed. And the minute that they get their deer, elk, moose, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
the Sasquatch are there to take it.
Huh. Never heard
Mhm.
that before. That's cool. Well, I guess. Weird.
Yeah.
Well, I think what was it last Saturday when you and I were out with the gang? And that sneezing, I'm still not buying that.
Yeah.
That
Well, we
was
should tell that story. So you
Mhm.
were out there, I was out there,
Yep.
our friend Mike was out there, and all of a sudden, way off in the distance, we start hearing sneezing. 5 sneezes to be exact.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just an achoo. It was like a full-on hyena. Achoo! Achoo! You
Yep.
know? Now, I'm still leaning towards the fact that there may have been someone camping up the road and around the corner. We probably should have checked it out.
Yeah. Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, but we're in the middle of nowhere, and that was I didn't hear any other sounds up there. Like normally, somebody's camping and whatever. You hear them chopping wood, or you hear a door shut or something. But there was nothing to lead me until I heard the sneezes. But like you say, they were blasting. It was like, my good gosh,
And
right?
and
Yeah.
usually people who are camping,
Hmm.
they're playing music,
Yeah.
they're talking, unless they're camping alone.
Right.
They're talking. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know either, but I'm still curious about it because it's like you say that was the they were pretty loud, no question. If it was a person, it was like, my gosh. But but I found it very strange because I don't know about everybody else. I don't want to get all deep into it, but when I sneeze, I don't think my sneezes sound identical, and all 5 of those sounded like bang on identical every time. I was like, that's what made me question it, right? So, who knows?
I have no idea. No idea what it is. I'm still sticking with the fact that it was probably human.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, most likely it was, most
Weird,
likely.
weird, but human.
Mhm, mhm.
You
For
know,
sure.
weird, but human. What do you got for us tonight, my man?
We got a bunch of, stuff. Obviously, a reoccurring theme is the this day in history. So, I'll touch on that, kind of a fun story from back in, like, 1964, and some fun facts, little excerpts from I mean, you'd sent me some stuff today, so I'm throwing that in there as well. Uh, Apparently, there was a memo that was sent out, everybody knows Congress sits, I guess, next week, U.S. Congress. So there was a memo sent out, or a note sent out from a UAP supporter. So I got a little bit of a story on that, and sent out to all his colleagues, or her colleagues, because, undisclosed sender. And then, yeah, just some questions and maybe some discussion topics. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but yeah. So let's start. What are we looking at here? Let's start off with, yeah. So the Congress, as everybody knows, or most everybody knows, U.S. Congress sits again starting next week, and there seems to be a lot of politicians becoming very pro UAPDA, right? So there was a memo or a note, like I was saying, that was sent out from an undisclosed politician to a bunch of other politicians, right? And the quote on it, he goes, or she goes, David Grush's congressional testimony is the Galileo moment for our generation. The church aggressively resisted the idea that the earth revolves around the sun and refused to acknowledge the clear and overwhelming evidence which supported that conclusion. So now the US government is now resisting efforts to change the law, so they are legally forced to declassify any information, craft, or physical evidence of UFOs. The Pentagon refuses to acknowledge or explain the overwhelming amount of evidence, including classified documents, sworn testimony, firsthand witnesses with federally protected whistleblower status, and active investigations, which indicates that the executive branch of the government has been intentionally hiding classified UFO programs from Congress. So again, this is a memo that was sent out, and everybody's sitting at their emails or whatever reading it. I'm just reading it verbatim. So classified information is restricted from public access. However, its classification status does not allow the government to say, oh, by the way, this thing does not exist because it's classified. So basically, just in simple terms, they're saying you just can't do that. Well, they exist, but it's classified, so they don't exist. The Pentagon continues to deny that the classified UFO program exists, or admit they have information about UFOs. The refusal of the Inspector General to provide new updates on their active investigations has created an environment where Congress is locked into a silent tug of war with the executive branch on declassification legislation. The majority of Congress from both parties support the UAP Disclosure Act. Articles that spread misleading content or misinformation about this legislation harm democracy by preventing the public from receiving factual and accurate information about the actions of their government. So that went out to everybody today, and I got leaked out or whatever. So there seems to be a movement afoot where there's a lot of support for the document. I think what I read too, I think they're doing earmark budgeting, and I think out of the total budget, the UAP disclosure is 0.0022% of the total budget. That's what their allotment is if everything goes through. So it's interesting. There seems to be a lot of chit chat and scuttlebutt going on about that.
Only 2%.
Yeah.
It's just a little 2%, just like
right.
milk.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, obviously the defense fund for, the numbers that I saw, and I don't have them in front of me, were monstrous. And I mean, even at 0.002%, I think it worked out to like $14 million or something like that. So I don't know if not really a large amount of cash, but it's like I say, things are starting to seep out through the cracks. This memo or this note came out, whatever. I mean, and then it was funny because I was thinking about it. My thought was like, maybe it's time for Congress to create a dedicated UAP subcommittee with subpoena power, right? So they would be able to subpoena those records. Like if this UAP Disclosure Act falls through the cracks again, there's got to be something else instead of waiting another year, right? So it was just a thought. I was thinking, geez, you could probably subpoena if you had somebody that had the right to subpoena the the whoever's, maybe that may instigate something too, or even get that rolling along with the UAP Disclosure Act. You never know. You just never know.
You never, ever know.
No, you don't.
Always watching.
Mm-hmm.
Always watching Mike Wazowski.
Exactly. So yeah, that's what I had on that story. I thought it was quite interesting. It just goes to show for me that there are people in politics in the US anyway that are starting to, squeak a little bit, right? And I think we discussed it way back or a while back. Maybe some of these younger folks and the younger people that are building a career in Congress, maybe they aren't as afraid as we maybe suspected or nervous about saying something because the ball's rolling. So we'll see.
Well, I know the ball is rolling, and here's the thing. Politicians are much like people. They love to jump on the bandwagon with things.
Fair enough.
And my big thing with this is I don't believe for a second that after what we saw in the last showdown for the UAPDA, all right, or whatever the hell the acronym is on that one, I don't even know anymore. I just don't believe that they are going to get it through. Yeah. Now, look, UFOs are a popular topic right now, and the one thing politicians are good at is getting excited to get their name out there, to say, hey, I'm part of this.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Look at me. I'm supporting this UAP for the NADPAQVX or whatever the hell it's called. Budget.
Yeah.
All right. They get excited about it. But when it comes down to it, guess what? All of a sudden, you get some heavyweight that has been in there a long time and says, Tim James, in your state, you just happen to, have a military contract for this certain part that employs about 9,000 people in your state. If you're going to support that UFO crap, maybe with my influence, we can have that move to Kentucky or Washington State.
Yeah.
California.
Yeah. Very good point.
And unfortunately, that's the way the game is played. We saw that last year when Mike Turner and many others ganged up on the rest of Congress and said, yeah, we're not going to be doing this UFO crap here. No, we're not playing flying saucer games and little green men. We need this to go away.
Yeah.
Shut it up.
Yeah.
Right? One guy happens to be on the intelligence committee. The other guy happens to be representing people who work at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which employs about 50,000 people, just so you know.
Yeah.
All right. It's a little ridiculous, Tim. A little ridiculous. And we can play this UFO game all we want.
Yeah.
But I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm not
yeah.
trying to be a negative Nancy on this, man.
No.
Not trying to be a negative Nancy whatsoever. But we have to come to the reality that disclosure isn't going to happen. It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Like every single person on YouTube who uses a thumbnail that says it's over as they use it for clickbait, this one I believe is real. I believe it's over.
All right. Well, yeah, good food for thought. That's for sure.
That's right. Tim, we're going to get you to put you on hold right there for a minute because we have the second half of the UFO report with little Timmy James coming up right after this on Spaced Out Radio. It's going to be fun. It's going to be wicked. We're going to get into some fun stuff here in the UFO report. Stay tuned. The final half hour is next, everybody.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Cool. I thought I'd bring out my Chet Atkins Gretsch.
You look like a Gretsch guy.
Had one. Wasn't a huge fan of it.
They're oversized and ugly.
Yeah, they kind of are, but yeah, they're fun. They're fun to play. The Bigsby Bridge on them with the tremolo. I was used to Stratocaster, Les Paul kind of styles, and yeah, no, not a huge fan. Like I say, I sold my Gretsch. I was like, yeah, you got to go.
What are you packing beside you? I know you got a guitar there.
Yeah, I've got my Epiphone Dot 83 hanging on the wall.
Let's see.
Hang on.
Yeah. Hi, Shelly. How are you? Oh, look at you. Look
Little
at you.
dusty.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got this probably about 10 years ago. Yeah, she's a beaut. Sounds wicked, too.
I've got the thumbs up from Dirty Filth on my hair tonight.
Oh, cool.
He wants me to give him a wink. Hold on. I hope he got it.
The wink. Nice. Where are we? There we are.
Dirty Filth. He's such a dirty filth.
Dirty filth.
He's so dirty. He's so dirty, he's filthy. Mill WD-40. How about a show on Black Sun? I don't know what the Black Sun is. Filthy, did you wash your chest hair today? Your abundance of Greek chest hair?
Greek chest hair. Put Windex on it.
The only thing hairier than Filthy's chest is Joe Monk's toe knuckles.
Oh. Okay, that's my mind's eye, man. Stop it. Stop it.
Kira complimenting my blue eyes.
Wow.
You are stunning, Kira. Stunning.
Did you have fun at your retreat?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I got to fill you in on that bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I want to hear about it. I think, who's there tomorrow night? You, me, and the regular crowd minus Mark and his wife, right?
yeah.
Well, we'll let the ladies team up together and you and I'll team up together.
Well, we'll see how many people are there.
Yeah, for sure.
You might have to do your own.
Oh, they're all right. Cue cards with names. What was your name?
Yeah. Cue cards. I don't know what building this is, but there's a ghost over there, and
no, go up the stairs. Yeah,
apparently her favorite number in bingo is N35.
Yeah, and this is the loft at the barn. If you'd like to go up to the top of the stairs and walk the catwalk, by all means,
go get attacked.
Yeah, no, no thanks.
Kira likes playing bingo. Thank you, Filthy, for the blob picture. Hey, we have a hat trick of super chats from T-Bone. Thank you, T-Bone, my man. We love you. We got 2 of them from Simon in Australia and 1 from Bigfoot Rob. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love and support. Thank you to all of our new subscribers who've given us a thumbs up and hit subscribe tonight. We're almost at 26,500.
Sweet.
Almost. I'd like to hit 27,000 by the end of the year. That's the goal. 27,000 by the end of the year. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why, Tim?
Because we do not have ugly swag.
No, we don't.
No ugly swag, people.
No, we don't. No ugly swag at all. None. Here we go. Like 7 seconds. 3, 2. All right, we've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time of the evening where we say hello to all the agents and agencies tuning us on in tonight. You know, we thank you for making sure we bring you enjoyable UFO entertainment. Don't forget, you've already got our phone number, so give us a call sometime just to see how the plans for fall are going, or where the aliens are, where the Bigfoot are hiding. Just give us a call. We love our alphabet agencies around here. Remember, some of us can be bought. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio or download it for free on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tim James is here. UFO report continues. He's not in studio tonight because he had to run his lovely wife, Lorelei, a bath.
Yes.
Scrub her feet.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, welcome back.
Thanks, buddy. Good to be here. Good.
I know
to
you
be
like
here.
a good loofah.
Absolutely. It's exfoliating.
It is. I'm not going to lie. I use a loofah.
Oh, do you?
I do. I use one of those ones with the long handle so I can get my back.
Oh, yeah.
That is the greatest invention ever. It's a top 10 invention.
Yep.
The loofah with liquid soap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can get all those hard to reach areas.
For sure. So it's right up there with that thing, that springy thing that you put on your head. The head
Oh, yeah. Springy thing is cool. It doesn't even have a name. Nobody knows the name of that, but it's springy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I had somebody in Vegas one day sneak up to me, and I guess I passed one of the vendors who was selling those.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it was just like on my head with that springy thing. I just passed out right there. It was like instant gratification of relaxation. Those things are amazing.
I love them. I love them.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let's see here. Today, very super huge important day.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we build up to it, this was 1966 and a huge day in the universe. So on this day in 1966, Canadians like me and Dave and some of our audience were watching CTV, and we were treated to a new show. And the show was called Star Trek. And yes. And Canada was the first place in the world to see the show that spawned the franchise, right? So on the show, 2 Canadians. There was James Doohan, who played Scotty, and obviously William Shatner, who played Kirk. 2 days later, on September 8th, the U.S. Star Trek debuted in the U.S., and the rest is history. So that's super important and fun. Yeah.
You know what? And
What's
to
that?
this day,
Mhm.
I have never watched an episode of Star Trek.
I've watched some. Never was a Trekkie or anything like that. Uh, my wife, total Trekkie, Next Generation, and then whatever else they went on to. Yeah, she loves it. I mean, I liked it because it was campy. It was one of those things where you lay on the couch with maybe after a heavy evening of drinking and throw on a marathon of Star Trek, just lay there. Yeah, but no, it wasn't my thing, but important to a lot of people, obviously. And yeah, so thought I'd mention that. So also, um, there was a little speech, I guess, well, a portion of the speech from Jay Stratton at the Phenomicon. Uh, Again, I guess what today or yesterday. So little thing that a little blurb he wrote here. So in 2012, my colleagues from the Defense Intelligence Agency and I reached out to Harry Reid. And I said, "Hey, I got this swell idea. I like that swell idea. Why don't we move ASOP or OSAP, sorry, down to Pax River Naval Air Station?" And Harry Reid agreed. We got the Congressman Steny Hoyer involved because that's his district. And they got $10 million to move everything down to Pax River. So again, we spent about another year working on it. And at this point, I brought my friend Lou Elizondo back in to help me down there. And we tried to build out this program. We were offered a bank account in the Pentagon. And when you do that, it's called a program element, so a PE. So in the congressional language, I have to designate where the money is going to, and all that sort of stuff. The bank account number, the direct deposit paperwork. So I had a PE, I had my direct deposit set up, and the money went into the bank account. So somebody else at the Department of Defense said, "Oh, hey, that's cool, 10 million bucks," and they took it and they used it for something else. So I actually went and tried to find anything on that to find out, like, so what was was there more to the story or whatever? I couldn't find anything. I even got those little blank things on when I typed in my search. It was like,
Right?
what you were looking for can't be found. So very weird.
That's so weird.
Hmm.
So weird.
Yeah. Now, what else? Oh, I don't know. Everybody knows Bill Maher. He's a comedian, but he does obviously news topics. I haven't seen this yet, but I ran across it about half hour before I came on tonight. So Bill Maher looks like he's maybe taking UFOs somewhat seriously. And he had Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster on his show on Real Timers tonight. He actually asked McMaster, what about UFOs? Can you tell me? What can you tell me? Let's get this all out. So McMaster confirmed UFOs are legit to Bill. So it's like, excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing the show. I just brought it up as a point of reference so that if anybody wants to check it out, I think he had him on for almost 45 minutes. And so I didn't have a lot of time before coming on the show tonight to watch it, but I was like, okay, that may be interesting. So he's, Bill's had him on. Let's get maybe Gresham Elizondo on his show too. Maybe keep the ball rolling that way. So that was an interesting piece of information that I found today. Look, kind of cool.
I think that's kind of awesome too.
Mhm.
More people are starting to open up. Let's just be honest.
Mhm.
They are. But how far are they willing to take the conversation? Because I
Yeah.
think part of the problem that we have is they're willing to open up the conversation, but they're not willing to go deep into the investigation. It's a cool thing to talk UFOs these days.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
And I just don't get it because hey, if you want to get into it, you can't just nightstand read the headline on UFOs. You have to go deeper. You have to find the players of the game. You have to find out who's telling the story. But just because you hear Lou Elizondo's name in the news or Chris Mellon's name or whoever doesn't mean that that's the end of the story. It's like many people today, and it started with the To the Stars Academy back in 2017. Many people believe that ufology's just started. This is something new.
Mm-hmm.
This has only been going on since 2004 with the USS Nimitz incident.
Yeah. No.
Okay, this is well beyond that, people. All right, it's well beyond. We're talking decades. We're talking centuries, and for some, maybe even millennia or longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I don't know, but
love him or hate him.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson seems to have taken a real interest in this. And it's kind of gone down the UFO rabbit hole. Now, I'm saying this with great kudos to him because I'm not a fan.
No.
Let's just be honest. He has one of those faces that you want to punch. Okay?
Yeah.
If he played hockey and I was on the ice with him, even if he was on my own team, I'd have to hit him. I'd have to.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
he's taken the subject seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's not playing the Little Green Men card. He's not playing the Swamp Grass card. He's not playing the X-Files theme song music card.
Right.
He's taking it seriously. And I can respect him for that.
Yeah,
So when we have people, whether it's Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or now Bill Maher, we're all going to be watching to see how far Bill Maher takes this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll take it too far unless he sees a rating spike because of it.
Yeah. No, I get you. It seems to me that there's for not trying to say that people are jumping on the bandwagon, but there is a lot of bandwagon jumping, and it's notable people like the names that you've said. Not 100% sure which direction that is going to go, and is it just a rating thing? Is it all part and parcel with the hype about the United States elections coming up? Is it just is it a buildup for ratings? Right? I don't know, but it seems to be that there's a lot of notable people, and in a general sense, that are talking about it. That you wouldn't think they'd really broach the subject. And that's good too, though, right? I mean, I think it's good that everybody or that anybody that's interested or wants to get involved or wants to know more about it does the research and checks it out. But yeah, there's a lot of it going on. So good for them. Good for them. Speaking of Mr. Grush, there was a question posed today, and I just wanted your thoughts on it. And
Sure.
because it's right. So since Sean Kirkpatrick's now out of the picture, do we think Dave Grush will sit down with the new director, John Koloski, and reveal what he knows? Or do you think Kirkpatrick's kind of left a bad taste and an enduring legacy behind? Just a thought. I was just curious about that as well.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know if he will be doing that. Right?
Yeah.
That's actually a good question. And John, from what I'm hearing, John Koloski might be just as hard-nosed as Sean Kirkpatrick.
Okay.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Very interesting to see how this plays out. I think David Grush is someone who is calculated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to give up that information because remember, when Kirkpatrick left, Kirkpatrick's bosses were still there.
Yeah.
They're the ones who hired Koloski.
Yeah.
Why would things be any different? I think that's the attitude that it's going to have.
Jeez. Yeah, I would hope not, but yeah, I think that, and it sounds so pessimistic, and I get it, but I tend to agree with that train of thought as well. But I'm just hoping. There's always a little bit of hope. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that David Grush needs to go do that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that I think that it would be nice if this new director wasn't a puppet or just a mouthpiece for the the people behind the curtain. I really like to see him bring some stuff out and maybe some controversial stuff that maybe his bosses don't like. I mean, we can all hope, but I'm like, nah, I don't want. I just hope that he's not the same guy, right? Or he's not under the same exact directive, because then, yeah, then it just seems silly.
I get you there. I
Mhm.
get you there. Question from our audience tonight. This is
Mhm.
from Super Crazy. Will there be a UFO? Because I don't do UAP.
Mhm.
Will there be a UFO question as the U.S. presidential debate or in the U.S. presidential debate on Tuesday? Your thoughts, Tim?
Geez, that's a tough one. I think that the Republican leader would like that question possibly popped up. I don't think the Democratic leader is. I don't see that happening. But judging by what the Republican leader said the other day, and on an interview, I think he, I think that person is trying to build false hope. Surprise. But I don't think it's going to touch. I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised if it did, but I wouldn't be holding my breath. For me, I'm not thinking so. What about you?
I don't think that it's going to be brought up at all. There
No,
are too many other issues right now, and UFOs is not one of them.
no,
Just not one of them.
no.
They have way too much going on with the economy, inflation, what's happening between Russia and Ukraine still, what's happening in the Middle East,
Hmm.
what's happening elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last thing that they are going to do is get into the UFO discussion. You got to realize they still believe that UFOs are a bottom of the barrel topic of discussion.
Yeah.
The majority, never mind the people who listen to this show or have an interest in the topic of UFOs. And
Hmm.
I'm saying a deep interest,
Yeah.
not the fly by night headline watchers who go watching UFO videos on YouTube,
Hmm.
but the people who are following this subject intently. Okay. To us, that's an important question.
Hmm.
It's not an insultive question. It's
No.
not a stupid question. It's actually a smart question.
Yeah.
But to the rest of the country, those who are just trying to find a way to pay their bills,
Yeah.
trying to put food on the table,
Hmm.
put gas in their tank, never mind fancy stuff like vacations
Yeah.
or
No.
dining out. That's the real problem right now.
Yeah. And
And this has nothing to do with UFOs this time around.
no.
Nothing. We got
No.
screwed last time in the Trump versus Biden battle. We're going to get screwed this time. Okay. Even though Trump said what he said last week, where he's like, yeah, I'd probably release the files. Yeah, I'll do that. He can't.
No.
He
No.
can't go against national security, which this falls under. So the USA will remain, quiet. Now, I'm not saying that the question isn't going to be asked. I don't see it asked on a one-on-one, or I don't see it asked on a one-on-one debate.
Hmm.
Now, I do see, say Harris is on the campaign trail and a reporter comes up to her and says, hey, what's your thoughts on, the fact that the UFOs are going to be on the defense budget for 2025?
Hmm.
Okay. What do you know about UFOs, Kamala?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we could have a discussion about that. But actually being part of the debate, no, that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that as well. And yeah, you nailed it. There's just far too much other stuff going on. And I think that, yeah, I think they've been waiting for this kind of to happen. Right. So yeah, you're looking that's way on the back shelf, and I don't see it happening either, actually. So,
No, it's too complicated.
mm-hmm.
It really is way too complicated.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
don't want that.
No, definitely not. So I've got one last thing here for everybody tonight, and it's this day in history. So I always like these, and I'm kind of just fun again, looking back at what people used to do. So this was September of 1964. A guy named Donald Shrum and his friends were out bow hunting in an isolated area of Placer County, California, near Loch Levin Lakes. So Shrum became separated from his companions, and at sunset, he decided to sleep in a tree for the night because he couldn't find his way back. So later that night, um, at later that night, he saw a white light and it was kind of zigzagging at low altitude. And he thought, "No, great, it's a helicopter. I'm safe." So he jumps out of the tree, goes down, and he starts lighting all these signal fires to attract the attention. So the light spins around and he checks it out and it starts coming towards him. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm safe. Somebody's coming to rescue me." So but it stopped at about 50 or 60 yards away, and the object's strange appearance freaked him out. So he climbed back up in the tree. So he sat there watching this thing, and after a while, these two humanoids came out of what this white light, and they they looked like they were robot beings. He said, or one of them would look like they were a robot being. So the robot looking one approached the tree, and then so Shrum was in a state of panic, right? He just started freaking out. And they were trying, these beings, he said, were trying to dislodge him and get him out of the tree. So they didn't know what they were doing, obviously. So what he does, he goes, reaches up, and he's throwing matches down at him. He's lighting matches, and they start backing up, backing away and backing away. So as they back away, they stop. So he just grabs his bow, fires an arrow, and hits the robotic one in the chest. So all of a sudden there's these sparks and stuff, and this thing falls backwards as he says. So and then this robot gets back up, and at one point there's white vapor, he says, that was emanating from this robot.
I have to save the rest of that story for Monday. Tim James of the UFO Report, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Got to save that story, Timmy.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the time because it's right up above my notes, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I can do this. And it's like 11:57. That's okay. That's all good.
You done fucked up there, buddy.
You
done fucked up.
Oh, damn.
I'm going to bed early tonight, too.
Are you?
I am.
You got to work tomorrow.
Of course.
Yeah, it's Saturdays.
Then I'll tell you the lovely, lovely time I had.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
Kelowna.
Kelowna.
Yeah. Save that story for Monday.
All right. Sounds good.
Just give us the 5-minute version next time.
It was like, I'm ripping along, no problem. I was like, what? Okay. Damn it.
Yeah, you done messed up there, buddy. You done messed up.
Well, that's what I like to do.
We'll see you tomorrow, okay?
You betcha, man. Have a good night.
All right, and thank you to all our listeners tonight on Spaced Out Radio, as we say big thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick, Simon ×2, Rob ×1, and don't forget Sweet Robbie G all weekend long here, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern for After Hours. I'll be back on Monday, where we're going to get into a very weird and strange story. The death of scientist Amy Eskridge. Nicole Sakic and Courtney Marcassani are going to join us that night to talk about this strange passing of Amy Eskridge. See you tomorrow night for Sweet Robbie G. I will be at my ghost tour with Tim, raising money for the museum.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have a good one, everybody. Thank you for a great weekend, or a great week, and have a great weekend.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.